And welcome back to part 14 of Bloodborne. This time we're going to work through the rest of Yahar'gul and take down the one Reborn. But there's a free bloodstone chunk there if you're fast enough. When you come over here, don't bother with the stairs, just drop down because otherwise this guy will shoot at you and just be a prick. But yeah, there isn't really that much left to the game now. We've got a couple parts of... Well, we've got one part where that's going to be hell, which I'll get to when we get to it. But other than that, we're pretty much there. After this, we go back to the lecture building, and then we go into the Nightmare of Mensis, which is the last proper area of the game. And I will be doing the DLC immediately after, because that is all recorded as well. And even then, the DLC, it was only 5 or so parts. And I could have made it 3 parts, but I just decided to split it up because I wanted to have time to talk about certain boss fights, so I want to dedicate videos to said boss fights. But up here's coming up a relatively infamous moment that I'm going to show you how to kill with the simple way. It's kind of a bullshit strategy, so if you don't want to use it, I don't blame you, but it works, so I'm using it. If you've already opened that door from Yahar'gul, oh, there's a note here that's telling you about going to get Murgo. If you've got that door open there, these 3 NPCs down here, if you attack one of them, all 3 of them will turn on you. So what you do is you get as much damage as you can on one before they turn, and then you run through that door as far as you can. And now I'm going to book it because all the other enemies are going to start coming. Yeah, let's see, he's coming. And you sit behind a wall here, he will eventually give up. And you just rinse and repeat for all of them. So I'm going to speed this up because otherwise we're going to be here for a lot longer than we need to be. There we go. I knew I'd sped it up at some point in the editing, I was just waiting for it to happen. But it's literally just the same deal. Kill one, sit back, and then go get... The second one is down here on the side. You can walk and you can sneak up behind him to get your free backstab. And afterwards I get a move on because I realise that he's quite a bit stronger than me. I wait up, and then I go again. Because the guy over there is starting to reset his position as well. The guy in the back is the one you've got to be the most careful of because he's got a cannon, and at this point the cannon will do enough damage to be a serious threat. He's dead. Alright, let's go get the last guy. At this point I'm just trying to stay close to him and keep the pressure on because I don't want to get too far away because he will tempt the cannon if he goes too far away. And there he goes. And we get our blood dregs. To be fair, the blood dregs are only really useful if you're going down the vile blood route, and then even then you only get so much loot before it's just there for bragging rights, and that enemy pops in. And that should have hit. Oh well, no matter. The bell ringer that's making the enemy stronger is over here, by the way. Now all the enemies will be weaker and easier to kill. Good for us. Like so. And here's a shortcut right back to the very start of Yahar'gul if you choose to accept it. I'm going to ignore it because I have no interest there. The lantern we're at I feel is closer and better. No, the lantern we spawned off I think is better. I don't know why I'm checking for loot. These guys rarely drop like much other than quicksilver bullets. Be careful coming over here. Yeah, there's some loot here, but there's also a lot more of these things. I'm not sure what they're called, but they've never given me enough trouble for me to remember them. They're just sort of there. Well, I mean, they gave me a bit more trouble when I went onto New Game Plus for the first time, but other than that... I knew that was there, but I was trying to see if I could grab it and roll through it, not realising that the animation will always last long enough to make it hit you if you go collect the item. And at this point I'm trying to attract just one of them. Which I managed to do. Because if you attract all three of them, it can be quite hellish. They have killed me a number of times. So they've never been too big a problem, but they can kill you. Well, just like anything else in Bloodborne, really. I think I didn't... Like, usually I would have shot again, but I know I probably didn't just because I knew I was attracting both of them. Ow! Oh, come on. So, oh, Beast Hunter damp gem. I don't think there's anything else back here. If you haven't collected loot from your first visit here, there's more stuff here, but other than that, I'm just exploring for the sake of it, and to make this video just a bit longer, because I am aware of some of the shorter videos we've had. And as much as it makes my life easier on the shorter videos, I can imagine it being quite hellish for you guys to watch, and it's a very short part, and you just want to get a move on with the series. But I'm working on it, it's a piece at a time. Yeah, I'm just exploring everything out. You don't need to. I don't think there's like really much more new loot, other than the fact that the kidnappers are dead and you can find their corpses and they have stuff. But I don't think it's necessarily anything special. Oh. Should have really fast forwarded all this, but while we wait for me to scrounge around loot, I guess I could discuss some things like the recent fan games that Nintendo have made a mission to pretend don't exist. Whether it's Pokemon Uranium or another Metroid 2 remake, or the AM2R thing that it was called. Where both of them, I've played both of them, and they're both actually really fun. But Pokemon Uranium, yeah, it runs kind of shit on my PC for some reason. Even though it's not as graphically intense, it still runs terribly. It's still a fun game, and the Metroid 2 remake is it's brilliant. It's Metroid Zero Mission 2. In terms of they've added a lot of new shit, added new bosses, more enemies. They've just expanded on it and made it a much better game. And both of them were free. So in turn, they were free advertising for Nintendo for both Pokemon and Metroid. And yet Nintendo pulled them down very quickly. And now you have to get like dodgy ways of getting through it that I'm not a big fan of. There's no legit, straight up way of getting it. You have to do all sorts of other things, which, yeah, so I'm not a big fan of. I'm always wary when I do things like that. But especially for the Metroid 2 remake's case, for fuck's sake, the series has like been forced into an early death too soon. The franchise has still got so much more potential. Like, for God's sake, just give us another Prime game. Or I'll just put up with another 2D game. How fun the Metroid 2 remake is shows just how much more can still be done with it. But Nintendo just pulled it down, instead gave us chibi shooter team fun times that no one gives a fuck about, and expected us to just suck it up when the last main Metroid game was Other M. And if you're like 90% of the audience that didn't enjoy Other M, the last enjoyable series was like 2009 with Prime 3. And so the Metroid fan base have been just clawing for anything, and the moment they get something, Nintendo say fuck you and pull it down. Like, why can't they have done what Sega did, where Sega realised that there's some really talented people making fan games, so what did? They hired them and made making a legit one, and now we're getting Sonic Mania next year. It looks bloody brilliant. But, no, Nintendo just got this sort of arrogance with them right now, that if it's not them that's made it, or them that's licensed it, it's not happening regardless of how good or bad or free or whatever. It's just not happening. And I've yet to see them comment on it at all. It's just they pulled it down, end of. Which is a grand shame. And there's a lot of dead bodies strapped to walls here for some reason. And that corpse hanging. But yeah, a little rant over. I don't get it, Nintendo. It's free advertising for a franchise you stopped giving a fuck about. It's free revenue, it's free money. You can make another Metroid game and make it sell. If people had played the Metroid 2 remake, because people would be thinking, oh, if a fan game's like this, what would a legit one be like? So you're attracting a new audience. But no. You're just going to throw the Federation Force at us and expect us to just suck it up. But no, that's not happening. And it's quite funny where you think, like, for the past few years or so, not Metroid, Nintendo have been quite good with community feedback, and Sega have been the arseholes that never listen. I mean, look at the consistency of Sonic. As much as I'm a huge Sonic fan, even I'll happily admit, there's no consistency in the quality. It's like you get the good one, then you get a bad one, then you get a good one, then you get a bad one. Because Sega just never listen. When they get a formula, they say let's change it to something else, or let's rush it instead of sticking to it. And then suddenly they've turned around, they said, look, we're spending a whole extra year on the next 3D Sonic game so it can actually be good. So they're listening to community saying take your fucking time instead of rushing. And they hired some really talented fans that have already proven their worth to make another 2D Sonic game to harken back to the fans for the 25th anniversary, even if it is going to be a tad late. And Nintendo are the ones pulling shit down because, like, how did that happen? And it feels so sudden. Nintendo, like, Sega's listening and Nintendo's not listening. The old 90s advert where it's Sega does what Nintendon't actually fits now. But anyway, I'm rant over. We've got a boss fight. This is the one Reborn, and it's not a hard fight. The bell ringing things on the side will constantly power it up, make it stronger, and I think regenerate its health. And the reason why I say I think is because I never let the things around the side live long enough to test it. I never bother with the one Reborn. I go straight for the bell ringers, and as soon as they're all dead, just go in and massacre the one Reborn because he's really not a hard fight afterwards. Hello. I wish I understood what the one Reborn was mumbling, assuming it's actually a legit language and not just gibberish. It always sounds like he's mumbling something just before something happens. And I can't find anything online to support whether he actually is mumbling something or whether it's gibberish. So you'll hear it occasionally, it's like, and it's like, what is that? Like, even if it is just gibberish, I'd rather know it's just gibberish instead of me just sort of sitting here wondering if it is or isn't. Oh yeah, and this is quite funny. For some reason, one of them on the other side didn't die in one swing, yet these ones all... Well, like 3 of them didn't die in one hit, yet that one over there, so now I've got to quickly run back over the other side to get that one that didn't die. Oh, there's also more bullets if I'd ever need that. There we go. And that was me just to make sure, just for funsies. But yeah, the strategy for this, kill the bell ringers, go in there, fuck up the one Reborn. I think it's partially weak to electric, so you can use that if you wish. Which, yeah, which I'm going to do. It has that's its AoE. It has a panic move. If you do too much damage, it'll start kicking in random directions, which it will do in this fight. And it is just a panic move. It has a move where it puts this dangerous liquid across the whole arena. If it does that, climb the stairs on the side. You don't have to go up the towers, just climb the stairs and you'll be out of the reach of it. Otherwise, brace for death. And so it has a lot of panic moves, but at this point, you fought worse. This is sort of like an easy version of Amygdala, and Amygdala already wasn't too bad of a fight. And that's sort of like the panic kick there. And those attacks don't do too much damage at this point in the game anyway to really justify it. I'm getting stuck just on the edge of the panic kick, so I'm getting the odd hit. But yeah, this boss already doesn't have much left. But then I like these bosses occasionally because it makes... Oh yeah, the AoE does hurt, but it's very easy to read. I was just slow to react. Well, I like boss. Like, there's a part of me that likes a boss like this occasionally where it isn't much trouble, because then it actually makes you feel quite empowering. It's just when it's all the damn time, you just sit there like, for fuck's sake, this challenge me, damn you. But then, like, it's something that's kind of, well, on your first run, it's kind of hard to compare to Father Gascoigne, because Father Gascoigne teaches you so much of the game through his difficulty. Yet you kind of can't get that from the later bosses because you've already learnt the game a lot better. Like, German and Lady Maria are both very hard fights when we get to them, and they're the only other two fights that I thoroughly love to death and think they're brilliant fights in terms of difficulty and how equal the fight feels, even if German starts getting a bit hyper mode near the end. But after you kill the one Reborn, walk over to the guy wearing the Mensis helmet, and it will take you to the second floor of the lecture building, or first floor if you're British like myself. But up here on the first floor, there's only one real thing you really want to worry about, and that's that the door to the Nightmare of Mensis, the last proper area of the game. Assuming you don't count Murgo's Loft as separate, which I don't, I consider it one thing. The Nightmare of Mensis is an interesting area. Like, whilst we're in this sort of deadpan zone, because it's just the slimy guys we fought earlier, there's nothing really interesting here. Like, Nightmare of Mensis, like, they have a couple instances where they have a new enemy, but they'll only make you fight it in one room or one area. And I'll point out all the instances. Like, there's an infamous one that I just like to call the spider room. That I assume that's just what everyone calls it, the spider room, or the giant spider room. And then there's the puppets that only appear in one little section. You got the brain of Mensis, which is the giant blob that causes an area effect that when you're exploring the whole of Mensis. Oh, the thing cut out. That was a bizarre cut that my recording decided to do. Thanks, recording. Anyway, the brain of Mensis, like, it causes an area effect where you're constantly getting slight frenzy. So if you're out in it too long, you'll get hit by frenzy, and there goes about 80% of your health. But that's not the end of the world, because there's a lot of rocks to hide behind, and getting inside is not too hard. Getting to the spider room is not too far away from where you start, so you can just kind of get there before the frenzy has too much of a dangerous effect. Doesn't change the fact the spider room still creeps me out. And if you're scared of spiders, or just really creeped out or disgusted by spiders, you have my sympathy. Because the spider room is not nice in any shape. At this point I'm just cleaning it out. Oh yeah, there is one thing of interest in here. You can go find Patches the spider and kill the son of a bitch. Which I think I'm going to now. Yeah, I'm going to Patches, because this guy's blocking it. Because Patches, keep in mind, he could push you off a cliff. Oh, you get insight for finding him. He'd push you off a cliff in Nightmare Frontier. He honestly believed that Amygdala would kill you without mercy, and yet, now he's here and he's begging for it. I always say, oh no, not at all, to try and get something out of him and then kill him. Like, yeah, see?
Doubt me not, sweet compeer.
And then I just go, fuck you. Oh, it was well deserved. You're a prick. You gave me a lot of trouble in Dark Souls, and you gave me a lot of trouble now. And I want my Great One Wisdom. Which Great One Wisdom gives you 2 insight instead of 1. And if you can open that door from this side, so you can get access to the ground floor. So if you didn't go to Nightmare Frontier and you didn't get the Tonsil Stone and encounter Nightmare Frontier, you can go to the Nightmare Frontier now through that. Just, it's not going to be anywhere near as challenging. Then saying that, the hatch is open slightly, so for all I know, I could be lying because I've never actually tried. It's just it's always been open, the door's always been there. I've always gone to Nightmare Frontier first, so for all I know, that could be closed when you get there if you haven't got to Nightmare Frontier. I'll have to look it up and bring it up again at another point. Anyway, this is Nightmare of Mensis. These guys have got an upgrade in the terms of if they die without you using any kind of fire weaponry, these weird snake worm things will come out, and these suckers are annoying as all hell because of how low to the ground they are. They're kind of hard to hit, and they just get a lot of pot shots on you, and they will start to annoy you quite quickly. But they will die instantly if the killing blow on the thing that hosts them is fire based. Also more stuff, so you're going to get bloodstone chunks almost all the time now because it's the last proper dungeon game. What else are you expecting? That's the brain of the Mensis brain. That's going to try to inflict frenzy on you. Every time it glows, frenzy's lingering. But yeah, that's... I wanted to activate that bit just so then we've got a starting point for next part. And I'm going to level up a bit more. 74, yeah, we're getting on there. Keep in mind, I feel that you should be around level 80 for the final boss. We're making progress. I might end up being a tad over leveled, but to compensate for that, I don't do any leveling between the final boss and going into the DLC, so I'm actually quite under leveled for the DLC. Or at least I felt I was under leveled. But we got some new gems to equip to make myself a bit more beastly. The fact that there's like a minute left on recording tells me I messed with this for quite a while. Yeah, I'm going to mess with this quite a while because there's a lot of stuff I've got now and I want to see what works, see what doesn't, sort of thing. So I don't want to, because I tried to make the effort to not use all the stuff I usually use. Yeah, I still use Ludwig's Holy Blade, and yeah, I still use the default pistol. But it's just little things like runes or what I put on the weapons. I've tried to mix up and not use the ones I usually go for, because I usually go straight for visceral boosts. Just because it makes you a monster if you know how to do viscerals. But I've deliberately stayed away with this run. I still have this old habit of the... I was hoping there'd be a point where I didn't do this, but yeah, I still have this old habit. Regardless of, when I run out of blood echoes to level up, I end up spending it on everything. All the items instead of just keeping it along for next time. But either way, I'm going to wrap this up. So next time on Bloodborne, we're going to explore about half of the Nightmare of Mensis. It's a big ass dungeon. But until then, you take care now.